In this video, let's go for a closer look at the hosts, which are the most basic concept in Zabbix. I will show you the most important settings of a host and how to get an automatic inventory of your hosts. Hosts are configured under Configuration, Hosts. A host is basically any device or computer that you want to monitor. It can be a server, a network camera, a network switch, a web server, or just anything else that is accessible through an IP network, even across the internet. A host consists of applications, which are groups of items, items themselves, which are the pieces of information that are gathered from the monitoring system. Triggers are conditions that define whether a system state is a problem or not. The graphs visualize one or more items. Then you have discovery rules that we get into later. The interface is the default network interface used to gather information from this host. Every item can be configured to get its information from a specific network interface. The templates allow you to store general configuration settings for a certain kind of application or a specific operating system. As you can see, the Zabbix server has the template app Zabbix server and the template OS Linux assigned. The status column allows you to set a host to monitored or even not monitored. This is the fastest way to disable or enable monitoring of a host completely. If you intend to just suspend monitoring, you should rather use maintenance periods. In the last column you see the availability and see a working Zabbix agent on this server. Let's create a new host. As usual, the Create button is located in the top right corner. I click on Create Host and get a new form where I have to enter the information about the host. The host name is the unique identifier of this host. It can contain spaces but no special or Unicode characters. I usually just use the fully qualified domain name here. The next field contains an optional visible name. If you leave this field empty, it will automatically be set to the host name from the previous field. Consider entering something more meaningful than just the host name here. Every server has to be in at least one group. You can either choose from these groups or enter a new host group name, like web servers. The agent interfaces lists the network interfaces of the host you want to monitor. Of course, you need to have a Zabbix agent installed on that host. You can enter multiple interfaces and later choose which interface to use. This can be useful if the host is multi-homed. You could also use the DNS name and set this field to DNS, but I personally recommend that you use IP addresses everywhere, so Zabbix will still be able to monitor your IT infrastructure and send proper alerts even if the DNS server gets unavailable. If you cannot run a Zabbix agent on your server, you still have other options. One is the simple network management protocol, which is used by auxiliary devices and especially switches and routers. JMX stands for Java Management Extensions, which is a way to monitor Java-based applications. And IPMI is a server management interface that many rack-mounted servers use. The second interesting tab here is the templates. I will cover templates in more detail later. Let's just assign the server the template's OS Linux template. Also interesting is the host inventory. The inventory is a nice little feature that lets you keep information about your computers. It's pretty basic and doesn't replace a decent asset management system, but we can get information from the Zabbix agent automatically, so I recommend you just set it to automatic here. Let's save the host, and you see that a new host has been created here. Apparently, the new server has been added successfully and is already available. A nice feature here is that you can export host information into XML files. Say that we want to export these two hosts into an XML file. Then we check them and select Export Selected. I click on Go, and as you can see down here, an XML file gets downloaded. I can open the file and you see the XML that is generated by Zabbix. Of course, when you export data, you also want to be able to import the data later. This can be done on the top right using the Import button. When I click on Import, I can choose a file, where I just choose the XML file we saved previously, and I can say what should happen with information if it's already there. And a second feature worth mentioning is the mass update. Let's again select both hosts and choose Mass Update from the drop-down menu. When I click on Go here, I see the properties of the hosts, and I can now change the properties for all of the selected hosts. for example, I can add them all to a new host group. Or I could set the status to monitor it if they are not. Or I could link additional templates. And when I click on Update, this affects all of the hosts. So this concludes the basics about host configuration. In the next video, I will show you how to automatically discover hosts on your network.